Hello, farmers, and welcome to the harvest season. My name is Al.
All right, and my name is Rochelle.
And we're here to talk about farming games.
Woo.
Woo!
I even made it this time.
Yeah.
Very
We
exciting.
have Rochelle back
Hi.
this week.
Alola, friends. I'm sure everybody missed me a whole lot.
Well, I certainly did, because it's much easier to think of things to say when I'm not having to talk all the time.
Aw, you're better than me, and also I missed you.
You'd think I'd be good at a monologuing podcast, because that's my other main podcast, but I spend a long time writing out the script to that, so it's not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if we switched positions, I think it would end up being just me talking about Pokemon, so which one of us is better?
Well, you don't know how much editing I did of that podcast.
just like, I edited out 3 hours of me talking about Pokemon.
Anyway, this is the harvest season, and this is our last episode of 2019.
It means we've been doing this for a whole year, because we started in January.
It does, yes. It's very exciting. Our 26th episode, the last episode of spring, because our seasons have 26 weeks. Deal with it.
We started this and we're like, this would be a cute idea if every season was like every year's like a season, and then we got 3/4 of the way through this year, and I was like, it's gonna be 3 more years before we get to year 2. So
maybe one day we'll go to weekly, and then we'll get it through it twice as quickly.
Maybe we'll see.
Maybe we'll see.
We'll see.
No promises.
No promises whatsoever. No, I will make a promise. If somebody will pay me $2,000 a month, I will dedicate myself to putting this out weekly. All right, rich benefactor, get on it.
So because this is our last episode of the year, we thought we'd talk about the year in farming, and we'll talk about exactly what that means later on, but yeah, so we're going to talk about farming in 2019.
Whoop whoop. A whole year's worth. Just in case you didn't listen to a whole year's worth of our podcasts.
Yeah, you can just listen to the last episode. You don't have to listen to the other 27, 6, 5, 25. I can do numbers.
Look, math is hard.
So, we'll do the other usual things as well. We'll talk about what we've been playing, also known as the Pokemon section. We'll talk about some news. We have another discussion topic, which isn't news, but we're going to try that out, see how that goes. And then we're going to talk about the year in farming.
And it's going to be a true adventure, a real romp. You're going to love it.
A real romp.
A real romp.
I do hate that word.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I mean, I'm not really
It's not
sorry,
your fault
but
I hate the word.
Anyway,
I
I like it. I usually use it to refer to movies and television, so.
Very good. So, Rochelle, what have you been playing?
Oh, you're not gonna believe this. I've been playing so much Pokemon.
You have?
Yeah. True story. This game has been out, as of this recording, this game has been out for 32 days, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Something like that.
32 days. I've beaten this game twice. I've put in almost exactly 175 hours. Mining that I have been spending a lot of time sitting quietly in a quiet, still room with nothing to do and doing Pokemon. I have so many feelings about this game. On the one hand, I really, really love it. I love all the Pokemon. I love a lot of the characters. Hop is my new favorite character in all of Pokemon. I feel an intense need to write a fanfiction to fix their main storyline, which is fine. I did that last generation too. I'm currently agonizingly distressed because I'm a lore person. I like to figure out all the lore, and I'm just trying to work out how Dynamaxing works. And it's very frustrating because at first I was like, well, I'm sure I can figure this out because I'm sure there's a through line that I haven't considered or something. I'll work on it. And I went to my resources. By resources, I mean friend group. And by friend group, I mean a Pokemon Slack. And I was like, hey, what do we have on this? Like, let's pool resources and figure it out. And one person was like, here's this interview that they did where they asked a few questions about Dynamaxing. And literally, the answer to the third question was literally, I don't know. And I realized that they didn't think this through past, I want cool, big, giant monsters. And that is extraordinarily distressing to me because I'm like, no, you mean you didn't, like, spend hours figuring out how this works? I go, oh my god, It's very stressful. I enjoy this game a lot. I've spent a lot of hours doing it. Let's see. If I'm not going to do the battle tower, because I don't care, all I have left to do is I have to complete a set of alchemies, which is impossible.
You might get it done sometime next year.
Maybe, if I ever get these dumb candies to evolve these... Anyway, the candies are hard to get. It's very frustrating. And then I have to complete my collection of Gigantamax Pokemon, and I will have 100%ed this game. So, that's all I have left to do. I like Pokemon a lot. That's all I've been playing. That's not all I've been playing. I've been playing other things, but they're not relevant. I mean, they are relevant, but I'm not going to mention them here. I've been playing a secret game.
Oh.
That's been fun.
A secret game?
A secret game, but I'm not going to tell the listeners what it is. It's a secret. If you can guess it, I'll give you... If you can guess what game I've been playing, tweet it at me. And if you get it right, I will give you respect and a high five. So.
I'm really intrigued.
Ow!
Why is it secret?
It's just a secret. I just decided it's going to be secret.
Is this where you tell me I should be able to figure it out?
Yeah, you probably should.
Oh.
You'll figure it out.
Sorry.
Feel free
I'm a
to
terrible person.
Feel free to figure it out and then tweet it at me, and then I'll give you respect and a high five. Got to be real upfront with my what you should expect from me. I will tweet you back, which is exactly what would happen if I did not offer this offer, but we're going to pretend it's better. So, what have you been playing?
Well, I have been playing this little game called Pokemon.
Oh, never heard of that. Is it fun?
It is a lot of fun. I'm still playing it, and it does feel like we've said this for like the third or fourth episode in a row now. But yeah, that's basically all I've been playing because there's just so much to do and it's so much fun. I did, however, today, like literally an hour ago, finish my Pokedex in the game.
Nice.
Get my shiny charm. Thanks to Eric for helping me with the last few.
Thanks, Eric. Eric's pretty great.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put that out there. Have you?
And yeah, that's I've not done the Curry Dex yet or the Alchremies yet, but I think Curry Dex is probably my next thing. I need to get so many more berries. I've not really been picking up that many berries, so I need a lot of them.
You need exactly 151 berries.
Oof.
To complete.
And
your
that's if
Curry
you have
Dex.
the right amount in the right types.
Okay, let me tell you this because I'm a Curry Dex
here we go.
master. I have completed my Curry Dex. It is my proudest achievement. I have found in the wild, full odds, 3 shiny Pokemon so far. True story. And I don't even care. Like, my proudest achievement is that I have completed the Curry Dex and I have the set of golden curry tools. It's not as hard as it seems. The hardest part is getting the main ingredients because they rotate in the shops every day and there is a game exclusive ingredient that you have to trade someone for. You only need 6 of each. Sans, there's the one of the 151 is a curry ingredient you get from doing raids. And then the berries, if you just collect berries, the 6 most common berries, I mean, sans a couple other berries, like 6 of the 8 most common berries are the 6 flavors you make of each curry, and you only need to use one of them at a time. Just enough to flavor your curry. You're not going to get like a fancy Charizard class curry. You'll probably get like a Milcery, or depending on the berry, you might get a Caparaja class curry, but all you need is one berry.
So presumably that would need to be, if you're just doing the one of the type of berry that you need, you would also then use ones that aren't any of those kinds. So I think, is it orange berries or just a berry?
I mean, you can use all berries. Here's the thing.
Right, but my point is, if you're wanting to get a sour one, you can't use 1 sour and then 2 spicy. for example.
Correct. Which is why you only use one berry. I've been trying to like explain this.
Oh wait! Actually, just one berry.
You literally only use a single berry.
Oh, I didn't realize you could do that. I thought you had to put 10 berries in.
And this is why I've been like blowing people's minds, because I also thought that at first until I was watching my BFF play and they only put like 2 or 3 berries in, and I was like, how did you do that? And they're like, you just like hit the plus button to continue. Like you just pick your berries and hit plus and say that's good enough. And I was like, what? And then I completed my curry decks in about 2 hours.
Yeah, that changes everything.
Yeah, so you can literally only put in one berry. There are like, okay, I could send this to you if you want. I sent this to like 30 people last night. Just a list of like, okay, it's 6 long, so we're gonna tell the listeners. I'm gonna help you with the curry decks. For spicy, you want a cherry berry. For dry, you want a chesto berry. For sweet, you want a pecha berry. For bitter, you want a rost berry. For sour, you want an aspir berry. And for just the plain whatever it is, you want to use a lepa berry. These are like the most common berries. If you do X sort by type, it will be the first 6 on the list. It's very easy. Those are all you need. You need 1 each for each curry. You need 6 flavors of all the things, so you only need 6 of the main ingredients for each one. The main thing is checking your shops every day and finding someone who will trade you for your... In Sword, there is Bob's Food Tin, and in Shield, there is Bach's Food Tin. B-A-C-H. Bach.
That's another one of these things where I wrote it down in the list and then completely forgot that was a thing that I'd ever written down, and so I was really confused. So for the non-spicy, dry, sweet, bitter, sour, etc., do you just not put a berry in for that one then?
No, you have to put at least one berry. And so what it is that some berries, like the first 5 that I listed, are only those flavors. But there are a whole
no, of course, sorry, I was counting wrong. Yes.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of berries that are mixed flavors, so they have more than one flavor, and you get the plain curry when you have like berries that balance out so that there's not one flavor above another. So the reason I say use lepa is because lepa has 4 flavors, but it's like mildly all 4 of those flavors, so it's really balanced.
Ah, that makes sense.
So it always comes out plain. There are 2 sets of berries that have just the one flavor. That is like the list I gave you is like the boring, mundane ones. They're the most common. The only place I ran into any trouble, because like I said, they're the most common, so you get a whole bunch of them. I ran into a bit of trouble with the bitter and sour berries, which are the rost and aspir, but I supplemented them with a guava and iapapa berries, respectively, and I made it through just fine. There's 26 types of curries, so the first 25 are the ones that you need 6 of, so you just need 25 of each of those berries to get through it all. And then the last one is the Gigantamax curry, which you make with the Gigantamax that you get from raids, and that doesn't matter what flavor berries you put in, because it's just the same. There's only one type of that, so...
Does that appear in the ingredients part of your bag? Because I don't think I've actually found one of them yet.
Yes.
Maybe I haven't done enough raids yet.
It is in the ingredients list. If you need, I can trade you one. I have a whole bunches.
I wouldn't start worrying until I actually have all the other stuff yet. I will give you a shout, though, if I end up struggling. Okay. But I'm currently trying to get all the Gigantamax Pokemon, which will take a while.
Yeah, you'll probably get a few in there. I think it's usually like the big, like the gold background raids, I think, that give out the Gigantamax the most. Makes sense. So yeah. But making curry is really fun. I love it a lot. Please complete. I want everybody to complete their curry decks and to get the really cute little golden tools, because they're not just like the exact same thing but gold. They have like different designs. Like, I'm absolutely thrilled about the fan. Can I tell you about the fan? I guess curry decks.
Do we have to make a spoiler warning here?
Curry decks spoiler warning. You've been warned for this extremely minor detail. So the regular fan is like a little Magikarp, right?
Yes.
It's like a Magikarp design.
I don't think I've done enough curries to remember that, and also I'm terrible with remembering things.
That's okay.
But let's go with yes. I believe you.
It is, trust me. And then when you get the golden tools, your golden fan is like a Gyarados design, like your fan of all. I love it so much. It's very cute. So that's fun. I hate the online in this game, but the reason I say that is I tried to help somebody fill their curry decks last night. Because another fun way to do it is like go to all the NPC tents and stuff and make curry there because they just have ingredients. Each tent has a certain ingredient, so you can try and supplement your ingredients if you can't find something that way. But I tried to do it online with a friend of mine, and the online sucks, and it was very, very hard to find them at all. And in the end, we gave up, so.
Yeah, I think the online for this game is, in some cases, the best they've done, and in some cases, the absolute worst they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't, I just don't, I think the link code is a really good way to do trading, especially if you don't want to add someone as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
However, the idea that you can't just have a list of your friends and say, hey, I want to trade with, just seems so baffling when, they had that in games they had that in Pokemon games years ago. Mm-hmm. It's just such a baffling design choice.
It's truly baffling. And part of me is I kind of wonder if maybe it's an issue they're having with going over to the Switch, because they did this in Let's Go as well. But then I don't know why, because I think other games can access your Switch friends list and stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do that. I don't think that's I think it's a decision they're making.
Yeah, and it's weird and I don't like it. But even then, even if you didn't want to do that, all you have to do is do the exact same thing that they do for trader cards. Which is generate a random 10 or 12 or 15 digit code and then just give that to somebody. If I want to trade with somebody, give me a 10 digit code that I could say, here's the 10 digit code so we can trade with each other instead of hoping we get each other instead of a random person in the world. Yeah, four isn't enough for that. I haven't come across people a huge amount, but it has happened, and it's not great when it does. Yeah, it's very frustrating. And then on top of that, they are halfway in so many ways, because with raids you have the little stamps, right? And you can go to the stamp and I mean, not always, but you can get into somebody's raid. Why can't you do that with other things? I kept getting, this person I was trying to help, kept seeing the little stamp that they're camping now. Why can't I go to their camping stamp and say, I want to join that camp? No, I have to hope they generate in my world along with everyone else playing online in the world at that moment. It's so frustrating.
We need to stop talking about Pokemon, but
anyway,
I can't even with the way that raid stamps work. And it's I have 5 friends online and I know that 2 of them are doing max raids. I can only see 1 of them and 5 other random people.
It's so frustrating.
And when it decides to check for new stamps is completely opaque as well. Mm-hmm. It's just
Pokemon.
We are not a Pokemon podcast.
We're not. We love this game. It doesn't sound like it from this last conversation, but we love it.
Who knows how much of that will make it into the episode?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Swish is exactly what I was expecting, which means that I got my expectations right this time. Which is that it's great. It's not the best. It has flaws. It has really good parts. It's a game. Good job, Game Freak. You made
Pokemon.
A game. Yay. Pokemon. This ends the Pokemon segment.
Ooh.
Maybe
Should we talk about some news?
Let's talk about...
Were you going to say something there?
Oh, I was just going to say maybe next year we'll talk about a farming game.
Should we talk about some news? Because there's farming game news.
I would love to talk about some news. I missed doing news last episode a lot. I was no one's talking to me about farming game news. Just talk to myself, sitting in a chair in a room, quiet by myself.
Well, it's okay, Rochelle, because I think each of our news updates here are related to ones that we had in the last episode as well. Because there are some games that just have a lot of news.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, we have another new Littlewood update. I think last episode I talked about 3 different ones because we had spent so long forgetting to talk about these updates. Mm-hmm. And now there's another one.
Yay! Man, Littlewood is really going at it.
So many updates. So we're now on version 0.87. And this has a bunch of... I don't think there's anything particularly stand out from this. There's lots of small updates, a bunch of bug fixes. we'll have the link in the show notes to the changelog. There's nothing looking in this list that I'm like, oh, this is very definitely something we should talk about. But there's lots of little nice quality of life updates, some extra items and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good little things. Sorry, I'm like reading this list. I'm like, these are a lot of good little things. And then I said that out loud. So.
The next update is Village Monsters. So there's another Village Monsters update again.
Mm-hmm.
They're also pumping out these updates.
Mm-hmm.
The main focus has been on updated assets and look and feel for the game for different items and buildings and stuff like that. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Which is important.
Of course.
No one wants to play a game that's not fun to look at.
Of course not. Again, there's nothing particularly stand out. There's just lots of little updates, which is always good and very important, but we don't want to just spend half an hour just reading out a changelog to you when they'll be in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
And the last update we have this week is Stardew Valley. The 1.4 update is now out on consoles.
Yay!
So if you've got Stardew on Switch, PS4 or Xbox One, that is out now and you can go and see it.
Yeah, already automatically updated it on my Switch. It gave me a notification about it this morning when I went to go battle the battle cafes.
Woo.
Very exciting.
Wait, do you get notifications about game updates on your Switch?
I mean, yeah, it's just a little box in the corner. You know, like when it says like your friend is online, it's like one of those. It's just a box in the corner that pops up like, this game updated while it was asleep.
Huh. Is that a setting? I've never had that.
Oh, I don't know. I've always had that.
Because I want that feature because it's really annoying whenever you want to go in a game and it's like, oh, there's an update. And I'm like, oh, why couldn't you just do that without me asking?
I don't know, man. It might be in a setting.
I will need to investigate that to see.
Let me know what you find.
I will update you all because you're all obviously very interested about this. Anyway, so I didn't talk a huge amount about what was in the Stardew 1.4 update. There's a bunch of interesting stuff like you can your spouses have a new 14 heart event. I think before was 10 the highest they could go.
13.
13.
I think it was like 12 and then there was a secret 13th heart at which point they would give you a star drop.
So that's cool. Another thing to work towards. There is a new endgame mystery involving an abandoned building.
Ooh!
Which we have no more information on because I don't think either of us have played the update yet.
No, it's probably what I'll end up doing next.
We've previously talked about the fish ponds, which are quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the new map, which is designed mainly for multiplayer, but obviously can be used for normal play as well. But that's 4 corners. It looks quite a cool map. I might want to
it looks really
start
neat.
Up on that.
I kind of really want to start a farm on this map. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's if you ever stop playing Pokemon.
Well, I am at the point where anyway. Gotta keep battling those battle cafes for the next 1,000 years to get as many items as I need.
Dear. And there's a number of other things as well, but those are the big things. But lots of other small updates as well, which is very, very good.
Mm-hmm. New items, new hairstyles.
Oh, you can finally stack kegs and stuff like that in your
your
inventory. That is a very good update. I like that.
Upgrade your sheds to be bigger.
Yeah. So go try one of those 3 updates. If you play any of those games, let us know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
They all look very good.
News this week is Update Central.
Yeah.
So go play.
Yeah. So that's all the news we have this week. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is our extra topic that is not the main topic, but is not also news, but let's see how this goes, is I wanted to talk to Rochelle about Rune Factory 4.
Because I was excited for Rune Factory 4. I mean, I'm still excited for Rune Factory 4. I said that in a way and it's never coming out.
Yeah, I am also tentatively looking forward to it because I trust your excitedness about games. You haven't steered me wrong yet, and if you say it's a good game, I generally am liking it. So I was wondering, because I remember when it was announced, they had a release date for Japan, and it came out in Japan. And we were told, if I remember correctly, that it was going to be coming out worldwide by the end of 2019.
Yeah, because what it was that Rune Factory 4 Special was supposed to come out this year, and then Rune Factory 5 was coming out next year. And Rune Factory 4 was supposed to be your, like, tide you over till the next one game.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But see, the thing is, it's the 17th of December, and we have no information about when it's coming out.
They don't got a lot of days. Okay. This is truly baffling to me, because I feel like usually we're pretty good. Like, I feel like I must have missed something somewhere, but usually we're pretty good about, like, finding, like, even just some tweet where somebody says, oh, this is being delayed, or this isn't coming out, or something. You know what I mean? Like, find those little things.
It's not a small game, right? It's not a random indie game that we can just miss something with. I follow enough people that are into farming games that I would know if there was an official announcement about this, whether it was coming out or whether it was delayed.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. I'm pretty sure it's been delayed. Mostly because if you go to, like, the Nintendo website, it now says available 2020, which it did not before, but it does now.
Which I didn't see before we recorded this, because I had just looked on the one of the Xseed pages, which is where the game is being sold physically for pre-order, and I was pretty sure it still said 2019. I hadn't checked the Nintendo Switch page for it.
The only reason I looked it up is because you put this in the show notes, and I was like, what? I forgot about this. There's been so much going on, I forgot about this game. And I looked it up, and the first page I pulled up was the Nintendo page, because it was the first one to show up in my search engine. And, like, even the Xseed page now says, this item will be released at a future date, instead of either option of 2019 or 2020. And I'm just like, I'm not mad. Like, if they need more time on their game, like, that's fine with me. I am very firmly in the take your time with video games camp.
Definitely, and I'm certainly not. You know, we've talked about games that have been delayed, and we're generally fine with that, because the important thing is that we get the game as it's meant to be. Mm-hmm. But there are two things that confuse me about this. One is that, we've not heard anything. They've not even said, hey, this is going to happen in January or February. Like, it's not even like it's just having a month or two delay. The other thing that confuses me about it is the game is done, right? All they're doing is localizing it. And I'm not a games developer. I'm not a localizer. I don't understand everything that goes into this. However, I don't understand what can cause a massive, any delay really about localization, but maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, I guess I'm mostly frustrated with, like, the feeling of a lack of communication here, because like not knowing is more frustrating. Like, I don't, like, if they just said, like, oh, we're having a problem with localization, or, like, I don't know if, like, are they having, like, a legal issue? Are they having, like, a localization issue? Are they having, like, a labor issue? I genuinely don't know. Like, it's very weird, and I think it's especially weird because it's not like, if it was just, like, some random game that they're like, Japan is getting this and we may or may not get it, that would be one thing. But they announced this specifically for worldwide release, you know what I mean?
It's not just that. You can pre-order it for release in America and Europe. Like, it's not even just, we're going to do it. You can actually pay money right now for it.
Yeah, which I guess, like, that's the part that baffles me the most. It's, like, the lack of communication, but it's on top of the fact that, like with Doraemon, we weren't sure if we were going to get it, and that was fine. And if that had been delayed for a year, I wouldn't have questioned that. But this one, they were very explicit about telling everybody. Like, I'm pretty sure it was in, like, a Nintendo Direct.
I think so, yeah. So here's an interest. I'm pretty sure. I think it was the E3 one, possibly. Anyway, not important.
It's been a while.
Not important. Well, yeah, because did it not come out in Japan in, like, July or something?
Yeah,
something like that. So here's an interesting twist. I've just found that Amazon in America has the release date set for the 21st of January. Now, Amazon sometimes does put random dates on things, but that could be something. I don't know.
Maybe? I don't know because they haven't told us anything, and it's very strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah, so I just double checked. July the 25th, that's when Rune Factory 4 came out in Japan. So we're 5 months later now. And we were told it was coming out in Q4 2019.
There's only a few days left in Q4 2019.
And you'd think...
And they haven't even said anything. Like,
it's not going to be a surprise release. It's not going to be like, hey, here it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And especially if it was going to be out for this year, you'd think they would have announced it a couple of weeks ago because they want those sweet holiday sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to tell people when that's going to happen if you want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's truly a mystery to me. Like, I'm not mad. I'm just confused.
Yeah.
Oh,
here we go, right? So... More Googling has come up with an article on a website that I've never heard before. However, they are saying that it looks like it's been delayed till about February. Apparently, so some person contacted Xseed and asking why there was apparently someone had heard that it was delayed to the 21st of January, which is the date that Amazon has, and was told yes, that's when they're targeting. However, there's a French retailer which is now listing the game's release as the 21st of February. So either that February one could be a mistake, maybe it's still meant to be the 21st of January, or maybe there's something else, I don't know. Maybe the 21st of January is the date, or whether maybe it's a tentative date. Mm-hmm. I've also seen that yesterday someone tweeted Xseed on Twitter, and they were told that the release date is coming soon. Stay tuned. So who knows when that means, but I guess things are happening. It looks like it's probably delayed. We don't know why, and we don't know when to, but Q1 next year sounds likely at this point.
Okay. It would be nice if they put out a tweet about it or something instead of just replying to one person being like, I'm so confused. Yes.
This retweet here. So there was somebody saying, you've had my money for a long while now. Can you tell me when you're even planning to announce a date? If they could even, instead of just replying to that, if they had quote tweeted that and said it, we would have heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have had to do all this Google searching, which we've done over the last 2 hours.
This is so weird and confusing. Okay, so the number one most important lesson I've learned in my life as I grow older is that communication is very, very important. They need to work on their communication skills. But I guess we'll get it eventually, maybe. I'm wondering, because, I don't know. Because then, if you don't know, you have a whole bunch of more questions. Is this an issue on, the development end? Because in that case, you would be well, is Rune Factory 5 going to be further delayed then?
Yeah, so I would presume not. So I'm going to presume it's a completely separate team working on Rune Factory 5.
I would presume so, but I don't know.
If there may well end up being issues with that game as well. But if they are, I don't think they'll be related to this at all.
Yeah.
Because especially, I presume Rune Factory 5 is going to go through the same process of getting released in Japan and then going to translators. So it's not like it would slow down the process even if the translation was the issue, right? Because they're not going to immediately go on to Rune Factory 5. They're going to wait until it's done and then they're ready to translate it all, right? That's why we have that lead time between the Japanese and the worldwide release.
Yeah, but then it also doesn't instill a lot of faith in that regard.
So this might help you a little bit. Apparently, their blog post about the archival edition in October announced, and I missed this at the time, but it announced that they were also going to have French and German in the game as well as English. So that could be it there. In this blog post, they don't mention a release date. And this is from October. I remember talking about the archival edition at the time. But it does talk about French and German, which is the first time they'd mentioned that. So it's possible that they decided they wanted to add French and German to the game, and that's why there's a delay, because they're adding 2 whole new languages to it before they release it.
Do they have one person translating who knows all 3 languages and has to do it one at a time?
I mean, presumably not, but if they made that decision after they'd started translating the English, it's obviously going to take more time to add in the German and French as well. And, that adds a lot more testing.
Yeah.
I think it certainly would explain a month or 2. I wouldn't expect that to mean 3 or 4 or 6 months or whatever. But if it was coming out in January or February, I think we decided a few months before we were planning to release that we wanted to add in French and German as well, or somebody who had lots of money decided they wanted it to be in French and German as well, I could understand a 1 or 2 month delay on that.
Yeah. I'll accept this headcanon. It's just weird. It's frustrating.
This is all my investigation has come up with. It may well be that something else is completely different.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. If you listeners know any more information or have found anything that we have not, then please let us know.
Please tweet at me. I will give you respect and a high five.
Oh, here's an interesting thing. It looks like the update to the release date of 2020 was yesterday.
Literally yesterday.
There's a Twitter account that is apparently searching for these things, and it tweeted yesterday that it updated to 2020.
And they didn't say anything.
And they didn't say anything, but it looks like it may well have been around the time that the Xseed replied to somebody on Twitter. So it may well be that all came together.
So they just didn't bother, and then one person asked, and they realized that people care and are paying attention, and so they updated it.
Yeah.
Okay. That
all happened in the same day.
This instills me with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but at this point, I just thought it was an interesting discussion because we have had delayed games and we're fine with that, but the weird thing I found was that we'd heard nothing.
Yeah, very weird. Communication is important. Communicate with the people around you. Thank you.
Definitely.
It's also like if you had literally just made one tweet that was like, sorry, the game's delayed to 2020, no one would care.
Well, I guess people would care.
People would care, but
we'd be disappointed, but we'd understand, and we wouldn't be having a 20-minute segment on our podcast about it.
Exactly. It would just be another news bullet point.
So that's where we are. So that's our news and possibly news sections.
Beautiful.
The main topic for discussion on this episode is we want to talk about the year in farming. So that's 2019. Yeah,
just in case y'all are like me and this year was a blur and time is not real and I don't even know what happened or if it happened 8 years ago. It's been a wild ride.
And hey, it's an easy episode for us to plan.
Mm-hmm. Our first annual year in farming episode.
Woo! So I thought we could talk about 3 different things. I'd like us to talk about what's our favourite farming game that came out this year. We'll list those in a minute. What is our favourite game of the games that we covered in depth on the podcast? So not just something we had in a news segment, but something we had a dedicated episode to. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, what's our favourite game that we have played at some point in 2019. So that can be a game that came out before, but it might be that is the favourite, the thing we've had most fun with this year, despite the fact that it's an old game or whatever. Mm-hmm. How does that sound?
It sounds fantastic.
So should we talk about what came out this year first? I feel that feels like that's the best thing to start with.
Yeah, let's go over it. Are we going to go over it in chronological order or nonsense order?
I mean, it's listed in nonsense order in the show notes just now, so...
Emotional order. We're going to put it in emotional order.
So it's almost reverse order.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. So games that came out this year, Doraemon Story of Seasons. Mm-hmm. I think we both played and enjoyed that game. Mm-hmm. That may well be a contender to start with, but let's not jump the gun. Harvest Moon Mad Dash, we're going to count it as a farming game. But seeing as how neither of us played it this year, I presume it's not going to be our favourite. Maybe in a future year, who knows? Maybe
we'll go back to it, and it turns out we both really love it. We don't know.
I mean, it's on my list to eventually play, when it goes on sale for 10 quid or whatever. Mm-hmm. We'll see. We've had Forager came out this year. Mm-hmm. Littlewood. So here's a question. Are we going to cover early access games, or do they have to be a full release to be counted in this section?
I don't know. I think it's okay to say, early access came out.
Okay.
I think mostly because, there's very different, levels of completeness with early access. So, I would be fine putting Littlewood on there because Littlewood comes out as, a very, very playable game.
Yep.
So, like, it's still being completed, but you can go and get in the early access, and it feels very, like, you can really tell where things aren't quite filled in, but there's so many updates, it feels like you're just actively playing a game.
That's true. That's true. I guess it feels like a game that is being updated rather than
Yes.
a game that's pre-release and you're seeing the development of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so there's Littlewood, early access. Next we have My Time at Portia.
Mm-hmm.
That did come out in 2019. I double checked. I think it was February.
It feels like 1,000 years ago. I genuinely... Oh my gosh.
There's Stranded Sails, which I don't think either of us have played.
No.
It's on my list, but
yeah, I was really excited for Stranded Sails, but then a lot of reviews had a couple of very specific, like everybody was saying like the same couple of things that made it sound really not quite as appealing to me. So like I'm really hesitant to get it at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe if it goes on sale, we'll see. But it did come out.
It did. So it's on the list. And it's definitely on my list to play eventually. But yeah, I'm not going to be prioritizing it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Next is Dragon Quest Builders 2, which I played the demo for and is again on my list of things to eventually buy at some point. But I don't think you've played it, have you?
I have not. I have had people try and convince me to play it, and they did a pretty good job. It's on the list now.
The problem is there are just so many games to play.
Yeah.
Trying to prioritize them is difficult.
I mean,
we
let's
don't have
be
enough
honest.
time.
I don't have enough time. I have to put at least 25 more hours into Pokemon.
Only 25. You'll be done by tomorrow then.
Yeah, perfect. I'm not even kidding. I think I'm like a minute away from being an even 175 hours in Pokemon right now. Like, it's absurd. Anyway.
Next we have Factory Town, which I'm counting because
I love Factory Town.
it's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, of the ones that I can think of that we actually care about, maybe I've forgotten some, I don't know, is Village Monsters also came out in early access.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless I've forgotten some, that's the farming games that came out this year. And my goodness, that's a lot of farming games to come out in 1 year, is it not?
Yeah, that's almost one a month. That's like more than one every other month. That's a lot. That's a lot of games to play in just one single genre of gaming.
And quite a niche genre of gaming as well.
So
we've not really discussed how we're going to do this, listeners. However, I think that it might be worth talking about what we're thinking in terms of our maybe top 3 out of these, rather than just favourite, because I have a feeling that my favourite in all 3 may well end up being the same game. Mm-hmm. So if we talk about the top 3, we're going to talk about more than just one, because I wouldn't be surprised if you're the same as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rochelle, what are you thinking in terms of your 3 favourite games that came out this year?
Out of the games that came out this year?
Yes.
I obviously have to do Doraemon Story of Seasons.
Of course.
Because it's fantastic. It's genuinely wonderful. I'm probably going to say Littlewood, because I really love Littlewood. Like, I am so excited for this game to be finished. And I've been saying that since the beginning. It's just very charming and very fun to play and very well made. Number 3, I think... Okay, so hear me out. I think my number 3 may be My Time at Portia, but only the PC version. I specifically do not want to include the console version. Because the PC version was really fun and enjoyable. Because, like... It's frustrating because, like, the Switch version was, like, agonizingly hard and bad to play, but the PC version was, like, extraordinarily fun. Like, I played for a long time on that game. Like, I really enjoyed it, so... Yeah, I think that's my top 3. What about you?
So is that in order? Doraemon number 1, Littlewood number 2, Portia on PC number 3?
No.
Oh,
there is no such thing as order in my world. There is... Look... This is how I do favorites. I may or may not have a single top favorite, and then everything else is just my pile of favorites. I have a pile of favorite colors. I have a pile of favorite Pokemon. I have a pile of favorite games.
That is fair. That is fair.
It's not a competition.
That's fine. So you don't have an outright favorite out of those 3 for favorite from this what came out this year?
No.
Okay.
I think I just like them all a lot in different ways. So...
So for me, I think Doraemon has to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't listen to our Doraemon episode with Micah, we both had all three of us had a lot of fun with that game, and we spent so much time talking about it. I had to cut us off like 3 hours into the recording because it was, coming up to 11:30 at night for me. I needed to go to bed. There's just so much there. It's such a detailed game, and it's such a beautiful game. There's so much in it that they have clearly just learned over what their 25 years of making farming games. They've figured out so many things that make a good farming game, and it's just a good game. And it's like a pure farming game as well. It's not a game that also happens to have farming in it. Like, this is a game that is designed to be a farming game. But there's also so much more that you can do as well. And actually, if you didn't want to farm, despite the fact that it's such a core concept, there's so much more that you can do that you can just ignore that if you want and still get through so much of the game. So Doraemon has to be in that. I'm also including Littlewood because it is a very good game. And I think it has so much more potential to come. I'm very looking forward to it being fully released, not least because it means that we'll get the Switch port at some point, but also it means that we can do the proper episode for the podcast that I've been wanting to do for months. And I have some ideas for a fun challenge that we can do with Littlewood when it does come out as well. So Littlewood definitely has to be in there, but this is where we're going to diverge, I think. And I have to put. So I was torn between two for the third one in what came out this year, but I think I have to choose Forager. I was torn between Forager and Factory Town, but I think Forager is just getting up there into the top three. It feels to me like basically just a fast-paced farming game, and I love so much about it. I love how fun it is to play, how it looks. I love how there are so many updates for it and more to come. And I also love, I love a good story of someone working towards a game and managing to make something that's a success. And that's always a great thing to hear as well. So there's kind of so much built into that that I really like. So Forager, Littlewood, and Doraemon. Okay,
but what order would you put them in?
So Doraemon number 1, Littlewood number 2, Forager number 3.
Oh, okay. You got me there.
I'm quite often with you in that I quite often don't like the idea of favourites, or at least one favourite. But I think in this one, even if you just look at my playtime, it's very clear that that's the order that I enjoyed them most in.
That is I mean, I'm not going to argue. I really enjoyed Forager too. I don't know if there is a game I played, meaning there's games I haven't played, but I think there's not a game I've played this year that I was disappointed with, so... Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. A lot of... I think that's the interesting thing. If you look at this list of games, there's very little in it that's actively disappointing. There might be the issues with stranded sales that I think you've pointed out that some reviewers have said, and Harvest Moon Mad Dash may or may not be good, we don't know. But everything else, especially everything we've played or talked about, I think has been very good. It's not just that there's been a lot of farming games, there's a lot of good farming games this year.
Which is really nice. I'm very excited about that. I am especially excited about that considering when we first started this podcast, we were like, oh, I guess we're going to be talking about all the old Harvest Moon games for 100 years.
we have a Google Doc which is literally just a list of all of the Harvest Moon games and all of the other games that Rochelle can ever think of, and we've maybe taken like 3 out of that document that we've actually talked about. Just because there are so many new games.
Yeah, which is really nice, and like I'm very, very pleasantly surprised by that like there's just a lot of new games and they're good. They're actually good, and that's very exciting. So
agreed. So that's what came out in 2019. So now we're going to talk about what we've actually talked about, what we've covered as a main topic in a podcast, and what's our favourite from that. So we have Stardew Valley.
Of course.
which we started out with. We have Story of Seasons Trio of Towns, which is always a hard title to say.
Sauce tot. Sauce tot. Perfect.
No. We have Factory Town. We have Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out, by the way, to the only person who replied to our tweet about what your favourite farming game in 2019 is, Ryan, who tweeted Minecraft.
A+ Ryan.
Great reply. We have Littlewood, which we covered as a kind of pre-covering episode.
Mm-hmm.
Forager, Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, My Time at Portia, Graveyard Keeper, Doraemon Story of Seasons, and what probably shouldn't count, Pokemon.
I love Anyway, we're not going to talk about Pokemon. We're not a Pokemon podcast.
So I think to make it easier, let's talk about only the farming aspect of that game.
Okay, only berry farming.
Yes. So I don't think you can legitimately say that Pokemon has been your favourite game of what we covered this year if you only took into consideration berry farming.
No.
Especially if you only include the newest games.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the games we covered this year.
Which was your favorite?
Oh, I'm going first this time, am I?
Yeah. Turn the tables on you, man.
Okay, I'm going to do a top 3 again for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be Stardew Valley, Trio of Towns, and Doraemon.
That I was not expecting.
So it's difficult, right? Because I think the point is that we choose the games that we like to talk about in depth. And so looking at this list, I could easily make it a 5 and add in Littlewood and Forager.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Forager is certainly the lowest of those 5, I think. I do enjoy it, but in terms of replayability, there's probably the least. I will come back to it at some point when the updates come to Switch, but I'm probably not going to come back to it as much as any of the other games.
Mm-hmm.
And Littlewood, I think, is lacking compared to the other ones only in that it's not finished yet, and there's still a lot of things that you're kind of like, yeah, that I want that content of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying not to play too much Littlewood just now, just because I want to wait until it comes out onto Switch, because I don't want to have a huge long save on the PC. Oh, well, I already do. I don't want it to be even longer
Mm-hmm.
when I move on to Switch. And obviously that's not going to happen until the game is fully released on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I don't think I'm going to include Littlewood in this list, in the top 3 for ones that we covered this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it has to be Stardew, Trio of Towns, and Doraemon. The only ordering I'm going to do is Doraemon is top.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is my favourite game that we covered this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's really close, right? Stardew is such a good game, and it was my first farming game, and it is such a good game in so many ways. Trio of Towns is also very good. It's definitely not as good as Doraemon,
Mm-hmm.
as it should be, because Doraemon is a newer game.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'd be worried if it was worse.
yeah,
I'd be real worried.
Exactly. So Doraemon top, Stardew and Trio Towns unordered underneath it.
Nice. I like this list. I think for me, I would definitely say Doraemon. It's real good. It's just pretty and fun and charming, and I love the music, and I love the gameplay, and I love it. And then I'm actually going to say Stardew and Littlewood for very similar reasons, because they're both games that I really enjoy. And both of them, I think I have been particularly enjoying. So they've both been getting relatively consistent updates. I mean, Stardew Valley updates come a lot slower than Littlewood updates because it's not a game actively in development. But what it is that I've really been enjoying, because we were talking about how there's been so many games this year, and that's even just in farming. That's not all the other games that I've been playing. And I really enjoy that there's these games that are good and well made and fun to play, that I can play for a while and then put down and go play the 18 million other things I want to play. But then I have this constant temptation to come back to it every time there's an update, and every time there's an update, I go back to it and I still enjoy playing it, and it's just more fun than last time because there's more to do. And I learned this year that I really, really appreciate that because I like to go back to games. Sometimes I need to, I'm very much a binger. I like to just play until I burn myself out on something. So having this sort of structure that will make me put it down and give it a rest and then come back to it eventually, I've been really, really enjoying. A lot more, I think, than the traditional Rochelle habit of playing it for 200 hours and then putting it down for 8 months. So yeah, I think that would be my top 3. I'm really excited to pick Stardew up again after this. I think I'm probably going to start a new farm.
On the new map.
On the new map. Probably.
Get some fish ponds out there.
Yeah. Honestly, probably by the time this comes out for the listeners, I will have started a new farm. Because I'm getting to that. Because like right now I'm like very, I mean, it's Pokemon. It's been the Pokemon month, which I knew was going to happen. And I planned for that. But I'm very much hitting that point where I'm like, this was fun. I need something else right now. You know what I mean? And I think that might be the top of my list to play. Because I'm really excited about the updates.
Yeah, and I think you've been saying, you said there's a longer time period between Stardew updates, which I think actually leads you more to going in when each time there's an update.
Mm-hmm.
Like Littlewood is updating like every week or every 2 weeks just now,
mm-hmm.
Which actually makes me want to wait for a couple of months until I've got a big chunk of stuff to play and then go in, rather than going in and going, oh wait, there's a thing that I need to go back and try and do now and that sort of stuff. And it's so much better now that now that Concerned Ape has control over the publishing and everything now.
Yeah.
So we literally had, I'm pretty sure it was last episode that we just talked about the Stardew update having come out on PC, and now this episode we're talking about it having come out on consoles. So I think that's 3, possibly 4 weeks. I've lost track of time because
time isn't real.
When exactly we've recorded has confused me, but I think it's 4 weeks at most between it coming out on PC and coming out on all the consoles, which is incredible compared to what 1.3 was. You know,
fantastically good job.
Do you have any order to those 3, or you stay steadfastly going, no, there's no order to them?
Order doesn't exist. We live in a world of chaos.
All right, well, I'm going to ruin your chaos because I think for our final one, what's our favourite that we have played in 2019? I think you only get 1 for this one.
Okay.
So the rules for this one is just, what is the farming game that you have played at some point in 2019? So it doesn't need to have been, a long time you've played it this year, but at some point you've played it this year, and it's your favourite out of the games that you've played this year. That was overly complicated way of saying it, but I think you understand what I mean.
Yes, I do. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So I have my answer.
What is your answer?
So anybody who listened to me earlier in the episode where I said that I think I needed to have 3 for the first 2 sections so that we'd actually talk about more games will probably have already figured out what it is. But I think it's Doraemon Story of Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my favourite game of 2019.
It's so good and so well made.
It was such a surprise to me. I did not, when it was announced, I would never have thought that it would be my favourite game of 2019. I'd heard of Doraemon, but I had no idea what it was, anything about it. And when it was announced, I was like, this is a really weird game, and I'll probably never end up playing it because it's probably going to just come out in Japan. We'll never hear about it again. And, a couple of years down the line, we'll finally get another Story of Seasons game. But it is such a good game. And I don't get how they did it. It's just so good. And I don't know what it is about it. I have enjoyed so many games this year. I still love Stardew. I love Trio of Towns. I love Littlewood. I love Forager. There's just something about Doraemon Story of Seasons that makes it... I can't say any other game I think, for my favourite.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you
Yeah.
for all of the reasons you just said.
I knew it. I knew it.
It's so good. It's so good. And it, on top of all the things you said, it also, I'm particularly impressed because it was a very good jump between systems, because this is our first Story of Seasons on the Switch.
Yes, there's not really any kind of pains when switching over.
Yeah, like they did such a good job. And I know from other franchises I follow that is not necessarily easy to do and easy to do well, and they just aced that course.
I mean, even just the fact that they went from a system with 2 screens to a system with 1 screen, and you don't feel like you've lost anything there.
Yes, they did it so flawlessly and so well. Ugh, it's so good. And then on top of that, like, it really, really gives me a lot of hope for, like, the series going forward, because, like, they put so much time and effort and care into this, and it's basically like a spin-off game. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If this is what the fun little crossover game of the series is going to be, I'm very excited to see what the hard, dedicated main series game is going to be, essentially.
I think the other thing is as well, so we were talking about Pokemon earlier in the episode, and you were saying that it's not the best Pokemon game ever. But it is good, but it's not the best.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's probably fair, feel free to correct me if you want, but I think it's probably fair to say that this is the best Story of Seasons game.
Oh, hands down. 100%.
Which is an impressive thing to do. It's not like you're saying, oh, it's the best graphically or whatever, but there's no massive feature that it's missing, or there's no this thing that it does in a less than ideal way. I would like to see stamina on the main screen, and that's probably about it.
Like, yeah, like that's the thing is, like, it's not that I can't nitpick this game and find things that they can improve on. Every single game ever that ever comes out will always be able to, there's always going to be something that they can improve on. That's the nature of it. But the fact that there's not like
a big
Pokemon
thing
is a really good comparison, because, like, I really love Pokemon and I enjoyed this game so much that in a month I've played 175 hours of it. I can list some really major things that I think they need to fix and that they should have fixed before they put this game out. Like, that's not saying it's bad or horrible. It's just that there are big things that I think could be better. And that's fine. Like, that's to be expected when you get a new game. It's to be expected when they're still working out how to switch consoles, because they also have the same issue of, like, switching to having a game with just one screen and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did. It's not the first on the Switch, but yes,
it's not.
It's still only a year after their first one on the Switch.
Yeah,
which is
and you can
not enough time to get feedback, really.
It's not enough time, and you can tell because a lot of the problems are very similar. You can tell that they're having the same sort of issues in switching over, and the fact that, like, I don't have any complaints of that magnitude for Doraemon. Like, there's just, like, all of my complaints are small complaints. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really big thing. Like, that should not be understated or underestimated, that I only have minor complaints about this game, when, like, other games that are, like, arguably significantly more popular and more mainstream are having those kind of big issues, and this game is not. Like, that's really impressive to me. So
cool. So it's official. Doraemon Story of Seasons, the best game of 2019.
Best game of the year. Now, here's a curveball question for you.
Oh, no.
What was your favorite game in general of 2019?
Pokemon.
Pokemon? You're going to go Pokemon?
Hard. I think so. I think it has
to
be.
But not Shield.
Like, well, I've not played Shield, so I can't say whether it's my favorite.
Shield was the worst of the two.
I think I don't like picking an individual one quite often, and I know I did the same thing to you, but I think if you make me choose it, I think Pokemon Sword has to be it.
Yeah.
It is just so, the feeling you get when you walk into the stadium for the first time, and you see what is probably thousands of people staring at you, ready to watch you battle Milo. It's what I've always thought Pokemon battling should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if people are going to battle, of course there will be big crowds to watch it. Why wouldn't there be? And the feeling that you get as you walk through, it's not even just like, oh, here I am, I'm in a stadium. Like, you're walking down the tunnel into the stadium, and then it pans over the crowd, and the music, and just everything about it is good.
Mm-hmm. I was talking about the gym experience. I think this is... Okay, minding that my favorite experience is Gen 7, which does not have gyms. So, excluding that... I think this is my favorite gym experience because it is so incredibly atmospheric and well done. And it makes it actually feel like it's this big deal. And like, especially the crowd in particular, really loving that. I really love the soundtrack. Like, my roommate makes fun of me every time because my BFF plays on the big TV in the living room because they have the switch that can hook up to the TV. Lights can't hook up to the TV, so I can't play on the TV. And every time my BFF challenges a gym, I get really caught up in like the music because the music has like the crowd cheering. I'm just like, rah, 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 rah. And I'm just like, I'll do it too along to the crowd. And they're just like, you're being silly. I'm like, no, but it's exciting. Like it gives, like the way it transfers that energy to you of just like, it's so well designed. It's one of the best things they did.
It's the way that it perfectly transitions from the kind of the beginning bit of the song to the Dynamax part of the song when the gym leader Dynamaxes their Pokemon, that just builds it up into that fever pitch, and you're just like, yes, this is amazing.
Oh, it's so good. The music in this game is absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, I feel that. Very good choice. It's a really good game.
Rochelle, what about you? What is your favorite of all of 2019?
Surprisingly, it's not Pokemon.
What?
Shocking. I know. Truly, I think it's honestly Untitled Goose Game.
That was definitely a curveball.
You weren't expecting that one. Got you good. But yeah, no, Untitled Goose Game is just like truly delightful to play. It was an extremely well-made, well-rounded gaming experience. I really appreciated that it was shorter. I really loved everything about the design of it. I love the curveball of where you get to the end and it turns out there was a plot the whole time. I think it is the most fun I've had playing a video game in a number of years. So, Untitled Goose Game. I'm not going to go on a passionate rant about it. And I think part of the reason that, because like most games that I'm really, really into, I can go on for hours and hours about. Like, you know me, I'll talk about farming games for literal hours. I'll talk about Pokemon for literal hours. You don't know this about me, but I will talk about Animal Crossing for literal hours.
We'll get there one day.
We'll get there. I promise. I will make it happen if it's the last thing I do. But this game, like, I mean, I could probably talk about it for hours. Minding I could probably talk about it for longer than the game actually is. But like, I think part of the reason I have a bit of a hard time talking about it is because it's really just a very well-rounded experience. Like, there's nothing in it. I mean, there are lots of things in it that I think are through the roof exciting and fun to do and talk about potentially, but what it is that it's the whole of the game, like taken as a whole, that really, really stands out to me of just like having something that is like talking earlier about Pokemon where there's parts that are great and there's parts that's not. There's nothing. There's like I might have one or two things for Doraemon that I would pick out. There's literally nothing in this game I would pick out. It just literally is a great game. All across the board. I think it's like the closest I've ever come to a perfect video game that ever existed. So,
wow, that's high praise.
It is, and I like
from someone who's very picky about some things.
I am very, very picky about a lot of things. Actually, I just don't say them most of the time because I don't need to. But I'm very picky, and I play a lot of games. It is definitely my main hobby. So, when I say I think Untitled Goose Game is the best game I've ever played in my life, that's like a for serial thing. That's very serious high praise. So
yeah, wow, well, there we go.
2019. It's been an adventure.
So, listeners, tell us what your favorite game is. Do you agree with any of ours? Do you have something else that you think is better than what we've been enjoying this year? Let us know. You can tweet us at THSPod. That's short for the Harvest Season Podcast. And that's on Twitter. That's how you can tweet at us. You can find me on Twitter as well at the ScottBot with 1 T. The Scott has 1 T, I mean. Like the whole thing has 3 T's. You can find Rochelle on Twitter.
You can tweet me. I want you to tweet me your favorite NPC in Untitled Goose Game, and also your favorite curry in Pokemon. And you can.
I don't understand how you can put bread into a curry and it come out as toast.
Magic. Look, the answer is I don't know, because that's their answer for Dynamax. Anyway, more. It's just true. So, tweet me those things. Tweet me how you think Dynamaxing works. Please don't give me canon information, because the canon information is I don't know, and I refuse to accept that. So tweet me your headcanons about how Dynamaxing works and your favorite NPC from Untitled Goose Game, which you can send to Miss Delaney at Miss Delaney with 2 L's in Delaney, because 1 L Delaney is somebody else. So.
And you can email us at our website, harvestseason.club.
Mm-hmm.
And until next year,
have a good harvest. The Harvest Season is created by Rochelle Delaney and Al McKinley. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, theharvestseason.club, for show notes, including links to things we discussed and transcripts for every episode. Thanks for listening. Pokemon in the wild. It's terrifying every time. It's not terrifying every time. Just some of them are terrifying every time. Gonna murder this Pokemon with my Ultra Beast. Get wrecked, Copper Aja.